Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we discuss the Brooklyn Nets are a dumpster fire. Okay, it's not that bad, but they just fired their head coach, Jacque Vaughn, who replaced Steve Nash last year to be the interim coach. At the end of the season, they gave him a contract extension, and halfway through this season, they have already moved on from Jacque Vaughn. They're in their third coach in 2 seasons. And we're starting to see a repeated pattern here. The Brooklyn Nets look on like they're on the outside of the playoff picture, even the play-in picture at this point. And things are just not going well here. And I'm not trying to advocate and say that John Vaughn was supposed to keep his job because I don't think he should have. I know the Nets got their cheeks clapped last week by 50, and it looked like he apparently lost the locker room. Mikal Bridges kind of had some suspect quotes in the press. Following some of these post games, it didn't seem that happy. It seemed like Vaughn, wasn't figuring out the rotations that well. But the point of this video isn't to talk about Jacque Vaughn. It's to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because can someone tell me what they're doing as a franchise, where they're going, what their plan is? I know what you could probably kind of connect the dots and figure out their plan is. It's like, oh, okay, we have Mikal Bridges, who's a young star, and Donovan Mitchell, has kind of had some links to New York, and because of the way the Knicks have been over the last year or two, it doesn't look like he would be like a good pairing next to Brunson. So if Mitchell wants to go to New York, he's not going to go to the Knicks, so he'd go to the Nets, and then you could have Donovan Mitchell and Mikal Bridges, and then Mikal Bridges' contract is like still pretty solid. So maybe you could add another piece to that, and then there you go. The Brooklyn Nets are on their way. But is like a Mikal Bridges, Donovan Mitchell nucleus? Is that how far is that getting you in the playoffs? Is that getting you to a finals? Is it getting you to a conference finals? Again, if it's like some sort of seismic piece at that at the other third star spot for them, maybe. But here's the thing, guys. A few years ago, they traded for James Harden and they gave up all of their draft assets. I know they have the Phoenix draft assets, but the point is, it's like if a star wants to go to New York, the Knicks can outbid them right now. The Knicks can outbid them for a star. And the only piece that the Nets would have to outbid the Knicks for a star is Mikal Bridges. Why are we bringing up Mikal Bridges again here? Because a few weeks ago, and this was reported on, like end of January, early February, the Houston Rockets called up the Brooklyn Nets and they said, hey, we're interested in Mikal Bridges and we're willing to give you basically all of the picks that you have that you traded us originally for James Harden. You can have all of them back if we get Mikal Bridges. All of those Pixar guys is 2024's first, 2025's first, 2026, and 2027. So 4 first-round picks. Now, again, Houston would probably have to send some other stuff back too. So if I was the Nets in that trade, I'd say, okay, give us Mikal Bridges. The Houston Rockets have drafted each of the last 3 years, guys. They have drafted in the first round twice. So they have 6 players that are in their third year or less on that team. They don't need young players. I think they would have given up like 1 or maybe 2 of them for Mikal Bridges. Maybe they would have given up. I think you ask for Amen Thompson and you settle for Jalen Green. And then you have like a young, talented player to go into Brooklyn. And then you have all of these draft picks. And here's the thing, too. You could be like, oh, you don't give up Mikal Bridges. This guy is like super valuable. He was good enough an asset to get you KD. To get for KD, everyone in the league would give up multiple first-round picks for him. Maybe you don't rush to get rid of Mikal Bridges. I think there is a misconception on Mikal Bridges a little bit here. Again, everyone wants a Mikal Bridges on their basketball team. I'm not going to deny that. Any person would be like, oh, I want a Mikal Bridges on my team. This guy can play off the ball. We know he can create a little bit on the ball. That's what he's been doing in Brooklyn. We know he's capable of guarding multiple positions on defense. He's made an all NBA defensive team before. But I think the perception is, and it's because he was in the same draft as Luka and Trae Young, and those guys are still like very young. Like Luka's like 24. Trae Young's like 24. We think that Mikal Bridges is also 24. Guys, next season he'll be 28. He's 27 right now. He'll be 28 next season. He's not necessarily like this young star that you can build around. He's not like 22 or 23. He's 27. And if Mikal Bridges is your best player, and like what is your ceiling? Your ceiling is probably middle of the lottery. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets are 8th in the lottery odds. And I don't see it getting any better. over the next few years. And you guys, basically, the Nets' history too over the last like 15 years, they do this crazy trade for KG and Paul Pierce. They give up multiple pick swaps in that trade. Well, those pick swaps came back to bite them as those pick swaps became Jason Tatum and they became Jaylen Brown. That is the nucleus of the team with the best record in the NBA right now. You could potentially have a complete do-over from that Harden trade. Like the KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden trio was a disaster. You basically have a reset button. And again, the thing is here too, guys, you could trade back for all of your own picks. You still have all of these Phoenix picks. You have a pick from Philly that still needs to be cashed out. All of a sudden, you'd become one of the teams in the NBA that has all of these awesome assets. And if you do the same thing, if you want to go back to the star thing like you did, a few years ago with KD, Kyrie, you eventually could have all of these assets that you could potentially give up for that star. If you rebuild that culture like you did when you had Kenny Atkinson and D'Angelo Russell and Jared Allen. And the thing is, too, I brought up Jared Allen. He made an all-star team. That was a find for the Nets late in the first round. They've actually been hitting with some of these lower value like draft picks. Like Cam Thomas, say what you want about him, like doesn't play a lot of defense, but he was also a late first round pick. What do you expect? Nick Claxton, not a perfect basketball player, but he was a second round pick. These are guys that like the Nets are finding diamonds in the rough over and over again. And it's just what happens if you guys actually have assets? Maybe you find a diamond in the rough, late in the lottery. You find your own Donovan Mitchell. You find your own Alperen Şengün. You find your own Giannis. Best case scenario, obviously, for finding a late lottery pick. And if I were the Brooklyn Nets and the Rockets called me up and said, "Hey, we'll give you 2 young players, a contract, all of your draft picks back, and Mikal Bridges," I would say yes to that. I would have said yes to that in a heartbeat. And I think, now again, I'm not the biggest advocate for tanking. I don't think you should do it that long. I think if you do it for longer than 2 years, something's wrong. But, I always like people trying to compete, trying to win, putting their best foot forward. But I think if you're the Nets here, it would have been smart because, again, the Rockets have control of their pick this year. And the way that it's going for the season for the Nets, it's going to be a lottery pick. And with the way that the odds have changed, where, the top picks aren't as big as guarantees as they used to be, like, who knows how far that pick could go up. And you'd be like, oh, well, who cares about this year's draft? There's not a lot of good players in it, apparently. Well, we thought that in the 2020 draft, and we got Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton out of it. We kind of thought that maybe about the 17 draft. Well, Jason Tatum came out of it. Donovan Mitchell came out of that. If you're a smart organization, you can find these diamonds in the rough, guys. You can find the good players. And I think the Nets, to their credit, at least when they get to use their draft assets, have found themselves to be, one of the, not like the smartest organization, but, they seem to be good at evaluating talent. And it's just kind of shocking to me that they would have turned down that Mikal Bridges trade. Because I don't see where you're going with Mikal Bridges if he's your best player. And again, he's older than you think. He's older than you think. And I think if you're trying to build around him, you don't have long to build around him because I think he's in the prime of his career right now. Like, I don't think in 3 years, Mikal Bridges is going to be making like an NBA or winning an MVP or something or being on an all NBA team. So there you have it, guys. That's going to do it for this video. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It really helps us out tremendously in the algorithm. We talk NBA, we talk college basketball, we talk NFL, we talk college football. We even do a little bit sports media beefs if they ever arise. We had a few of those happen last week. So go ahead and explore the Sports Detective Podcast channel on YouTube. Hit subscribe, hit like. It really helps us out in the algorithm. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.